What's up, everybody? My name is Steve Hoffa. This is the Standing Still podcast. Super stoked that you're here. Glad you're watching. And you know what? Stephen Murphy on today's episode. Stephen's a really good buddy of mine. I have nothing but respect for the guy. Super stoked that I got him to come on again. He was on episode 80, I believe, which was a really fun episode. I've heard nothing but good things about that show. And now he came on again, and this was definitely a, hey man, no topics. I just have a bunch of different stories that I've kind of written down, funny things that have happened to me, different life events. Let's get into that. And he said, dude, let's do it. So we talked about kind of everything that's going on in my life. My truck was stolen a couple months ago. I actually got it back. That's a crazy story. We talked about getting rejected at a wedding, or at least me getting rejected at a wedding. That's a really funny story. But also reflecting back on that show, as you guys will hear kind of towards the end of the episode, you know, one story after the other, here I am kind of just reviewing my life for the last few months. And between the self-deprecating comedy and then also just shitty things that have happened to me, I realized after like an hour, I was like, man, this is kind of a negative tone to this episode, but I'm glad I said it, and I had a good time, ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. Plus, the next day when I woke up, having said it on the show and kind of using this podcast as an outlet, I felt a lot better. So, with that being said, Stephen Murphy on the Standing Still podcast. You ready to go, man?
I'm ready.
Stephen Murphy, what's up, dude?
Nothing much.
Welcome back on the show.
Good to be back.
I know, dude. You killed it so much last time. I just couldn't say no. I couldn't stay away, dude. No, but I'm glad to have you back on. And this show is definitely going to be a decompressed show for me.
Okay.
I've kind of realized that the pattern that, you know, how do I put this? At first, you're just trying to get like anybody that would want to come on your show. And now I'm like, actually, now I kind of know my voice, so I'm actually picking guests of like, and I kind of know what makes a good show.
So I made the cut.
You're so deep into the cut, dude. It's so deep. But no, I realize that there's kind of a pattern that I've noticed in myself where it'll be like 3 or 4 interviews where it's like, man, I'm glad I got that guest and I had to do all my homework, and it's like a ton of work and it's great. And I'm super excited to have the opportunity, and it's a lot of fun, and they make great shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only for life, but it's also for the show. I'm like, okay, I have so much of my own life that I want to talk about that I haven't had the chance to because I've been interviewing people. And then also I just need that lighter mood of like a homie coming on to just kind of decompress and laugh.
Definitely.
It's going to be one of these shows for sure. So I've got a list. I kind of leaned on you, or I asked you yesterday. I was like, hey, man, I got a ton of stuff we could talk about from my life. You know, do you have stuff we can lean on as well? And you're like, I don't really have much, so let's definitely lean on mine.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. But just so we're on the same page. Yeah, dude. First off, how is life, man?
Life is going well.
Yeah?
I think not much. It's been pretty steady.
Just grinding?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the daily grind.
Yeah. I totally get that. Okay. So first, I'll just go through this list that I had. I just literally, I'll go through my calendar because I'm very calendar on my phone. And I'll just go, okay, let's see here. I went to a wedding that day. What happened at the wedding? And then I go, oh, that's right. Some chick said I had weak shit when I was just like not even trying to hit on a chick. So it's like, we're going to talk about that. And I'll just go through my calendar and be like, okay, I got to talk about that. All right, I went here. What happened funny there? Oh, I got to talk about that. So I literally just have like 10 things here. I've got the wedding story. Well, we'll just start off there because it's a funny one.
All right.
Okay, so I went to my buddy Cameron's wedding. Okay.
Okay.
This was like a month ago, something like that. And you know when you dress up and you feel like you look good. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're walking in there, everybody's dressed up. And there's a lot of people that are better looking than me there, but there's also a lot of people that are not as good looking as me there. But it just, in my own realm of how I feel like I'm at the top of my game while I'm at this wedding. Okay. Open bar, and the people that I know there, okay.
This is going to be a great story.
It's the next avenue of this story. Open bar. And my friends, like that friend group, are all pretty much heavy drinkers, especially this one guy that flew in from Texas and grabbed a drink before the wedding even started. Like, we weren't even at the reception. We were walking to the wedding, and he's like, oh, is it open bar already? And the guy's like, no. And he even paid. I'm like, dude, there's going to be an open bar in like 30 minutes. He's like, well, I just want to drink right now. So, like, that's the crowd that I'm hanging out with. Okay. This is deep into the ceremony. I'm not going to lie. I was drinking whiskey, like, just back to back to back to back to back. I was feeling it pretty good. Somebody had to drive me home that night. Right. Okay. I go up there's these 3 women at the bar, okay? And I wasn't trying, or at least this is how I remember it, because I was pretty, I wasn't like belligerent, but I for sure was drunk at this point.
All right.
So
This is like 5 minutes in?
No. This is like towards the end of the reception.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this is,
I thought this was like
oh,
5 minutes in. I was like, wow, all right.
No. So, okay. I'm pretty liquored in. And 2 of the women, a little bit older, probably late 30s, early 40s. I know them simply because they're my buddy that got married. It's like his brother's wives. So I know them because of them. One of them I've like never spoken a word to. I just know who she is. So there's those 2 girls. And then there's another girl that's about my age who I don't know who she is. Right. But they're all bridesmaids.
Mm-hmm.
I go up there just to grab another drink, okay? Like, I'm not trying to hit on anybody. I do remember that because I've also, like, in the moment, as we'll get to, I was, like, thinking about, like, some of the times, like, it happens and I'll think about it later. I'm like, I got to tell that. That's kind of a funny story. This was in the moment, like, thinking about how I'm going to talk about it, okay? So I walk up to the bar just to grab another old-fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's 2 girls that I know, and there's one that's kind of my age. So I can see how I guess they thought I was trying to hit on her, which I wasn't. I don't remember the exact words I say, other than the fact I do remember I like was not trying to hit on anybody. So I went up and I was just kind of like, hey, you guys having fun? Like, how's everything going? And it was maybe like 10, 15 seconds of that, like as I ordered another drink. And the only reason why I asked them that is because they were at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to walk next to them to go grab a drink. And I'm not going to just walk next to them and then like not say anything. Like, we're all friends here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was she married?
I don't know. The one that's like could potentially be something because she's my age and not obviously the wives of my buddy's brothers.
Got it.
I don't know. So I just walk up, order a drink. You know, hey, you guys having fun? Blah 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 blah. 2 of them walk away. Okay, immediately within like 15, 20 seconds. And the 2 that walk away are one of the wives of my buddy's brother, the one that I know the most, and then the girl that could be whatever if that's what they thought.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm left with one of the wives of my buddy's brother, who I know who she is only because somebody's told me that that's his wife. I've never spoken to a word to her other than right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, yeah, like they leave and I turn and like face her and she, like, I don't even say another word. She just goes, hey, listen to me. What you're saying is weak shit. Okay. You're boring as fuck. And I was like, what? Like I wasn't, you know, when you're like not trying to hit on anybody and somebody just calls you on your shit. She truly stopped me in my tracks. She's like just full on, like, hey, what you're saying is weak shit. Okay, you're boring. It's exactly what she said.
What a soul crusher.
I was so like, wait, what? Are you serious? She's like, yeah, you're boring as fuck. Like, you expect to be doing anything. Like, called me, and I wasn't trying to hit on anybody. That's what was so, maybe they just assumed I was, which I could see how I was looking boring because I was like purposely probably not trying to act like I was hitting on somebody. So right after that like 30-second period of her like calling my shit weak,
just roasting you.
Yeah, just roasting me. The 2 girls come back and they go, "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" And I go, "We're talking about how boring I am." Like straight up. I don't like, oh, nothing. Like I don't try to hide. Straight up, because already at this moment I'm excited to talk about it at some point on the podcast. This is gonna be so great. So I go, we're talking about how boring I am, and then the 2 wives leaving me with the girl.
They left again?
They left me with the girl that's my age that's not a wife. So now I'm like just me and her, which I originally wasn't trying to hit on. And then I got roasted. And then I even said like she was just roasting me. And they're like, all right, well, here you go. So I'm like, hey, how's it going? So now I'm like in this conversation with somebody and I'm at my lowest. Okay. Like I couldn't, and I'm not sober. So I couldn't be at a worse takeoff point to make anything happen. Right. And I go, hey, how are you doing? Like, how's life? You hanging in there? And she's like, to be honest with you, it's not good right now. It's not really good. And I was like
okay,
this.
So you're going to roast me and then you're just going to open up to me.
Right. I'm in a conversation with Anne Frank right now. That's what's going on. Like, it's so bad. And I'm asking Anne Frank, how's it going? Okay. And so she gives me that and I go, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, do you want to talk about it? And she's like, not really. I go, but now I'm trapped because I'm the type of guy that's like, if you want to talk about it, I'll just fuck the wedding. I'll sit there all night and listen to you because I don't know. I'm that type
You're just
of
a great guy.
Sure. I don't want to say that on the podcast, but we can talk about it later. But So now, and she's like, I was like, oh, I'm actually from Whittier. Like, ask her where she's from. She's like, oh, I'm from Paris, which is far from here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, even if there's some kind of way, I'm never going to see you again because you live really far. I wasn't trying to hit on you in the first place. And you ever feel that? You're like, I can clearly see you don't want to talk to me and you have no interest in me. And I came into this conversation with no interest in you. And you said you're having a horrible life right now and you don't want to talk about it. So what the fuck am I doing here? Like, that's literally, I was like, the only reason I got out of it is some song came on the radio and she's like, oh my gosh, I love the song. Is like, you want to go dance? And she was like, okay. And then we went to the dance floor and kind of separated.
Nice.
I
will give you props, though. I mean, if someone roasted me like that, I would have just taken the L and walked away.
But why? I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It was so weird. But so that happened. That's story number one for the night. And it was just like the next day I had to go get my car because I had an Uber because I was, I had to get driven home. And I just was thinking about that. And I was like, imagine a girl going up to a guy or just going up next to a group, like 3 dudes. And she's not trying to hit on any one of them. She's just trying to grab her drink herself. And 2 dudes leave, and the other guy goes, hey, what you're saying is weak shit. She would be so devastated. But I don't know. I just thought that was really funny because I wasn't trying to hit on anybody. But apparently...
You're just such a flirt.
I was deserving to be roasted. But, okay, so I got... let's see here. Working in Compton. My buddy... Oh, okay. When I say Compton, what do you think of? Just say it.
There's visual now, so they can see the awkwardness in my face.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you know exactly what I'm thinking about when I think of Compton.
Okay, so right now I'm working at a job that's like in Watts, which is right next to Compton.
Yep.
Okay, it's not a good area.
Oh, really?
It's not a great area.
Oh, I thought it was.
I don't know if anybody realized that, but it's not a good area. So my foreman, okay, we were working on these signs that were on the edge of the this hospital that I'm working at. So the edge of the property. He had his truck parked on one corner of the intersection, and we were working on the other side of the crosswalk. It's like 70 feet away, if that. So the other side of the crosswalk. It's not a huge intersection. He had his tablet and his laptop in a backpack in his truck because he was sitting in his truck, and he walked across the street just to say, like, hey, it's lunchtime, stop working. And then I was like, well, I'm going to sit here because we got all these tools laying out. I'm not going to walk away from the tools because it's just out and about.
Do you bring your own tools?
Yeah. There's the way the union works is it's like there's technically a tool list. Usually you end up taking a little bit more tools than that, but it's all the power tools and stuff like that. That's provided by the shop, by the company. Mm-hmm. But like I have hand tools and linemen's and stuff like that. So like I do have a lot of tools that are there that are my personal stuff. But not all the big shit. No, not all the power tools and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's provided. But he literally walked 70 feet away from his truck, and somebody broke into his truck.
Wow.
70 feet away.
Did he see him?
No.
Run after him?
No. He was just coming across to like shoot the shit or tell us it was lunch. And then we started talking for like 30 minutes on lunch, and his back was to his truck. And I was sitting on the ground. There was like some shit in the way, so I couldn't see his truck. Mm. And in that 30-minute period, somebody opened up his door and took his backpack.
Wow.
Okay. And it gets okay, like literally 60, 70 feet away. If you're looking at the other side of the crosswalk, and it's a small intersection, and that's where and I realized, for one, Compton lives up to the stereotype of it's just a bunch of shitty ass people living in Compton. But also, I go, dude, can you track your tablet? And he goes on his phone, and so he's tracking his tablet, and he can see the guy getting away. And he calls the cops, or he calls his boss because it was like a work tablet and a work laptop.
Oh, okay.
Which still sucks. But the shop's like, all right, well, you got to take a police report. We need to have that for the insurance.
Right.
But in Compton, if he's like, hey, some random guy stole my backpack, like, how long do you think the cops are going to take to get to that? They don't care at all.
Yeah.
Okay. He waits an hour for the cops to show up. They're like, yeah, somebody's on his way. Waits an hour. And the whole time he's just watching this guy go to downtown LA, watching the tablet tracker. And he's like, yeah, the guy must have hopped on a bus or something because it's just side streets going to like Skid Row. So I don't know if it was a homeless guy or what the deal was, but this guy's beelining it to Skid Row, downtown LA. But he can't leave because he has to wait for the police report. but the cops aren't coming. So then he calls after like an hour. It's like, where's this cop at? I've been waiting for an hour. Gets transferred like 10 times because nobody wants to deal with him.
Yeah.
And then they basically tell him, the cop's not coming. You can do a report online tomorrow. Now the guy's in downtown LA. So after work, he drives to downtown LA. Okay, like looking for this guy. He calls me. I like get home and he calls me. I'm like, did you find it? And he's like, I'm in downtown LA. But the guy must have turned it off because the tracker just stopped. So he's like, I'm walking around looking for who has my Carhartt backpack. Doesn't find it. But also, while I was out there, have you ever just... It's such a weird feeling being outside with valuable items in Compton. I'm not kidding.
I don't know that feeling, but I can imagine.
Because, you know, you see people pass you and it's one thing. But you see the same people keep passing you. And you realize, like, this guy's not going anywhere. And when they pass you, they're, like, looking right at you. Like, I saw a guy skateboard past us, like, 5 times. And he, like, when he's cruising by you.
Casing.
And I'm like, dude, you're not going anywhere. You're just watching us to steal this roto hammer. Do you know what I mean? It's so... And he's not the only guy. There's a lot of people. Like, at least 8 different people, like, the 2 hours I was out there. Some of those guys were out there all day. But, like, the last 2 hours of the day when I went to go help out, there was, like, at least 8 different people. They were just going back and forth looking at you. And so you realize, like, the second I walk away from this, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's Compton. That's LA. And we're literally, the building that we're building is like this new, like, crazy person building. And it's
so politically correct.
Yeah, dude, okay, I slipped up on that one. But it's so bad because the amount of money that's going into it, and it's like nice stuff that's going into it, and you realize, like, it's just going to get screwed up immediately. Like, some of the signs that are near the street are already tagged up, and they were installed like a week and a half ago. And you're like, dude, they're pouring money into your community, and you're immediately fucking it up.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
A bit of a bummer.
I mean, my paycheck clears, but you're just like, dude, come on. Okay. All right, dude. Okay, next subject. I got my truck back.
Really?
Yeah. Speaking of great neighborhoods, I live in Whittier. My truck was stolen like a month and a half ago, the end of September.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No. Have you told this on a podcast before?
I did a whole show called My Truck Was Stolen, and it was all over my Instagram.
Well, I knew the truck was stolen.
I haven't done a podcast about it being returned.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I've been keeping it a secret.
Good.
I've been waiting.
Surprise everyone.
I've been waiting to pop your cherry, and I wanted you to be here. But, okay. So you want to talk about similar... I mean, I'm just going to be shitting on California a lot in this episode because this is literally what's my life right now. So my truck got stolen like a month and a half ago, end of September. Okay. I put liability insurance because I was barely driving it, and it's a 2002 old-ass truck.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I pay like 6 years of full insurance to then on the 7th year put it on liability for it to get stolen. So I pay the maximum amount of insurance to get the no benefits. But I had already kind of moved on. Like, all right, I don't have a truck anymore. It's gone. I moved on.
Yeah.
And then I get a sweep. What do they call that? Sweep truck. A street sweeper ticket.
Oh, okay.
I get a street sweeper ticket, and I look at the license plate. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's my truck. And it's for.
Oh.
Yes, and it's for Monterey Park. So I look online, and there's another one already in the system. Like, so there's 2 in the system now. So I look at the address. And this was at...
Wait, so nowhere did law enforcement figure out, hey, this license plate that we're going to give a ticket to?
Nope. And it gets even better. Just wait. Yeah, no. When they're just... And I have like 1,000 tickets on it now that I have to try to clear. And no red flags in their system of like, hey, this truck that's there every fucking week that looks like trash... yeah, that's a stolen vehicle. No red flags. Yeah. Okay. So I get it. And it was last Tuesday, actually, or 2 Tuesdays ago. Because I remember I had a really long day. And then I did a podcast that day too, which ran a little late. So it was like 8:30 and it was like 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, you know what? I'm so behind on mail. I need to go get my mail. At 9 o'clock at night, and I see this thing. And you kind of realize, you're like, oh my gosh. In my head, I'm like, this is where the guy has my truck, and like this is his house. You know, like I'm like, he's parking it. I was like, maybe it's in his garage or whatever, but like this is his house. So I'm like fired up. I'm like, well, I have plans right after work tomorrow, so I can't go after work. I'm like, fuck this, even though it's 9:30 at night now. I'm going to go like drive the 30-minute drive to Monterey Park to go find my truck. And now it crosses your head of like, I know it's a sketchy neighborhood, and it's for somebody that stole my truck. Do I bring something? Like, do I bring a gun? Do I bring a knife? But then now I'm like Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm like, dude, if something does happen, like, why'd you bring a gun?
Not a good look.
Right. So I was like, but then if you bring nothing and something happens, it's a really... And I wasn't going to just call the cops and be like, can you just go drive by this? I don't know. I wanted to go do it myself. I was kind of tired of waiting on the cops. Okay. So I drive over there, and I'm like smiling because I'm like, I'm going to fucking get this motherfucker. Like, I'm so like I literally, the reel that kept playing in my head was like the cop putting the guy in the car with the cuffs and everything, the dirt bag, and they're like, you could do like, do you want to press charges? And I just kept saying over and over again in my head, like, do the maximum time, like, let this motherfucker rot in jail. And I remember thinking that, like, I was like, I can't wait to just fuck this guy in the ass by the law. Like, I cannot wait for this. Okay. So that's what I was going into it. I was like, I'm going to get my truck back.
Justice will be served.
Justice will be served. And it's just, I'm going to drive off into the sunset. Okay. So I'm like getting into the neighborhood, and it's not a good neighborhood. Okay. And I'm thinking,
like, maybe I don't want the truck that bad.
It's a neighborhood that there's no way to make this not sound weird, but I would say heavy Hispanic. Okay. That's the vibe I'm getting. And I'm thinking, like, I'm going to drive by, and there's just going to be, like, 10 dudes standing on the front yard. And, like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, what's... And I'm like, oh, and, like, take off. Like, that's also the... And I don't have anything to protect myself. You know what I mean? So that's also going through my mind of, like, trying to look nonchalant as I drive by to see if this thing is there. Okay, so it's, like, at least 9:30 at night. I drive by. There.
Oh, it's late then. It's not.
Yeah, and I've been up since 4 a.m. Like, I already, it was a Tuesday, so I already woke up at 4:30. I don't want to oversell it. 4:30, went and did 8 hours of work, came home and, like, had a totally, like, my place looked like trash. I, like, cleaned my whole place because I had a podcast at 6, and then did the podcast, and then, you hang out for, like, 30 minutes after.
Got it.
So it was, like, 8:30 by the time the guests left, and then checked my mail at 9, and now I drove down there, and it was, like, and when I checked the mail, I, like, had to look through my files, like, confirm, like, yeah, that's my truck license plate. I was like, really? And then looking online, like, there's the address. So at least 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
Drive down there. And my truck's parked on the street right there. Okay. And I'm so, when you see it, you're like, that's my truck, but I want to, like, really confirm. So I do it. I go way down the street before I flip a Yui because they're probably watching me, like, I'm kind of.
Who's this white boy?
Who's this white boy in his 2012 Ford Fusion? Like, eyeballing this whole truck. So I drive back, look at the, I'm like, I know my fucking truck. Like, they didn't take the stickers off of the back window, the Standing Still podcast sticker. And I know for a fact that 0 other people have that shit on their car. So, like, yeah.
At least they're doing free advertising.
Yeah, dude. I was like, they're not trying to disguise it all. Like, still the sticker on the back, license plates on there. I was like, that's my fucking truck,
like, ever
dude.
since my truck got stolen, I have so many more listeners.
Dude, they parked it.
And they're just listening to you talk about them.
I know. I thought
Stealing your
about that because this is Steve Hoffa's Standing Still podcast, and so they're probably listening to me like, my truck got fucking stolen and all this shit, dude.
You got to make sure this episode comes out like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Dude, I'm so... Trust me, I thought about that. Like, they're just like, listen to this fag fucking talk about how we stole his truck. Isn't that such a weird dynamic? But, okay.
And now you're on YouTube so they can watch you.
They can watch me look sad. They can, yeah.
Now they know what you look like, too.
Mm-hmm. They do know what I look like. So...
They know everything about you.
Pretty much, yeah.
They have your license, your address, your name, what you look like.
They know that I have bad knees and a bad wrist. So if we ever get in a tussle, my knees are just going to get kicked backwards immediately. I already know that. But, okay. So I pull down the street. I'm like 4 houses down. Like, turn off all the lights. I'm like sitting there like a creeper. Like, if there's any good neighbors, they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, this dweeb, this dork that just pulled into our neighborhood and is just sitting in his car. And, like, I think Mark Zuckerberg's in our neighborhood right now. But, so I call 911. I'm like, hey, my The truck was
Really? You called 911?
Yeah. Why would I not? I call the police station at 10 o'clock at night. You think there's a secretary sitting there
Yeah, I think so.
at 9:30 or 10 o'clock
like
at night?
non-emergency is like 24/7.
This is an emergency, dude.
You should have just Ubered there and then just got in and took off.
You think I'm going to tell the Uber guy, like, as I'm getting shot at, like, let me in, let's fucking get out of here? No, dude, I wanted, like, I already was bringing no way to protect myself. I wanted, like, my own getaway.
Okay.
But I did think about that, like, if it's good, and how am I going to get my truck home? But I was like, whatever.
Did you think about when you drove by the first time? They're like, hey, that guy has the same sticker on his window.
I don't have one on my car, but I
Ah.
did. But they probably know everything about me because they probably, if they checked it out at least at all for more than 60 seconds, now they're hooked to the show because the show's so good. So, like, they know everything about me. But, okay. So, drive by, call 911. I'm like, hey, my truck was stolen, and, you know, I just need a cop. I found it. It's right over here. I could give you the address. I just need a cop come over here and have me get it back. And so in my mind, I'm thinking they're going to come over here and knock on the person's door that it's sitting in front of and be like, what the fuck is this truck doing in front of your house? It's not what went down. It was very deflating. On
Nonchalant.
what the cops did. So 2 cop cars come, and I'm sitting there, and they were like, let the cops do the thing, and then they'll come and take the report afterwards. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I like squinch down in my chair, and I'm like, like looking just above the dash, like, yeah, like just above the steering wheel. Like, oh my gosh, there they are. Like, what are they gonna do? And then, because I'm thinking like a gang war is gonna break. I still haven't realized of what's actually going down, which is that they just fucking dumped the truck there. It's not like the guy's like driving my truck around and it's just parked in front of his house.
Yeah.
They just dumped the truck there. Okay.
Got it.
So they open up my truck and they're like looking at it, the cops. They don't go to anybody's house. And I'm like sitting there waiting for them to come up to me. They don't take fingerprints. They don't do shit. They just kind of look at it. They have me drive up like the 30 feet, so I'm parked right behind them because the guy's like, it's not a good neighborhood. I'm like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And this older couple, pretty old, like close to 70, I'd say, come out of their house that the truck is parked in front of. And they were like, oh, it's been sitting there for a couple months, like, which is about a month and a half. They're like, is it your truck? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how come you didn't call the cops? Like, your truck is just sitting in front of your house. And I was like, you didn't listen to the podcast? Like, you should have known that my truck's been stolen. But like, okay. So also we're laughing because my seat keeps getting lower. And
You're
when
right.
we first started, I started all the way high. And he's like, oh, wow. And he's normally way taller than me. And you're like, oh, wow, you're sitting so much taller than me. And I said, by the end of it, I'll be way shorter. And I could feel it just keep like half an inch at a time. When we laugh and I move around a lot, it just keeps getting shorter. Okay. So they're like, yeah, it's been sitting here. And the first ticket was on like 9:30. And it was stolen on 9:21. So pretty much right. And then every week since then. So pretty much right away. They dumped it there.
They probably stole it. It's the perfect.
The old
perfect
couple.
crime.
Right, yeah, this old Asian couple. So they cut out the catalytic converter.
Oof.
They broke in through the door, so I got to like replace the door and the place all that shit on the driver's door, which is now the 3rd time I will have to do this because it's been broken into for 3 times now. It's the only time the whole truck's been stolen, but it's been broken into 3 times now. They took the steering wheel, the ignition assembly all apart. So, like, all that plastic's ripped off so you could just start it with a screwdriver.
Mm.
Okay. So I got to do all that. They stole the battery. They stole the touchscreen whole radio deal that I had installed. I can't remember if I said it already, but the catalytic converter they cut out.
Mm-hmm.
They dented the door a little bit on one side.
How dare they?
And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I go, okay, so the truck's inoperable now. It doesn't start, like, there's no batteries, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I'm going, so that means they probably did it right here. Because once you take all this shit out, you can't drive it. Unless they towed it and just left it here. But the way it was parked, like, pretty good. It wasn't just, like, all crooked. So I'm like, who the fuck did not... First of all, they had this older couple, like, this truck's been sitting here for almost 2 months. And you didn't call it in. And then also, you didn't see the guys cutting out the exhaust and taking the battery and just fucking ripping up the the interior of this truck and not think like, oh, that's probably just him working on his shit in front of our house. Like, nobody calls on this stuff. And they were like, yeah, there's a drug house like a couple houses up. And the cops were like, yeah, it's been a problem house for us. And she was like, yeah, we see people like leave stuff behind the tires of the truck and then people come pick it up. I'm like, and you, dude, nobody called on it until I got the street sweeping ticket. And they're $60 a pop. And like I said, I got one a week. So I need to call. I still haven't done it. I need to call and tell them like, dude, you need to clear that shit because I'm not paying like $1,000 or whatever it's going to be.
They're going to give you a harder time with the tickets
Probably.
than they did with the truck itself.
I will give them the report number and the dates, and they'll be like, I can't help you. It was parked there. I'm like, okay, thanks. I'm so glad that, you guys serve our city by street sweeping, which don't do anything, really. I mean, we should just do that. Like, all right, everybody take a leave on pay for a month from street sweeping and see if anybody notices a difference in LA. I guarantee you nobody will.
Yeah.
You think so?
Now I will.
Okay, this guy has clearly got a family member in the street sweeping business. But okay, so now the cops are like, all right, here, sign here, just that you're releasing it back to you. And I'm like, so that's it? Just like, here's your fucked up truck and we're not going to do anything about it? Because you just feel so violated. You're like, where's the justice, man? Like, you're so bummed. And he's like, so, okay, the report will come back. It'll probably be on the investigator's side. It'll probably be on his desk in about a week. He'll start coming out, see if anybody has cameras, start knocking on doors. And I'm like, sure. Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, the guy's going to come out for that. Okay, so now I have to wait like an hour for the tow truck to show up. Right?
Yeah.
And I have like the bare minimum AAA. So it's like 7 miles. And then anything over that I got to pay. Like $15, or she's like $10. Anything over that's $10 a mile. I'm like, okay. And originally she's like, it's 14 miles. So I'm like, all right, that's $70. After 7 for free and then 7 after.
Just like a street sweeping ticket.
Right.
No big deal.
Dude. Okay. And it's not that much money, but I hate those moments where you're just like, all right, I guess I'm paying for this. Because you're just like,
there's no other.
Right, I'm not going to leave it here another day. You know what I mean? And okay. So then the tow truck, originally they're like, all right, shows he's going to be here in 25 minutes. And then some dude, like the dispatcher from the tow truck company calls me. He's like, it's going to be like another 35 minutes. I'm like, all right, cool. And then the guy finally shows up after like an hour. And he's like, yeah, it's $15 per mile. I was like, what happened to 10? And they're like, let me call.
Inflation.
Yeah, dude. Like, so the guy calls his boss, and the guy's like, you could tell. He's like, yeah, what was the price per mile on the F-250? He's like, 15. So, it wasn't like for F-250s, it's 15. It wasn't like it was just like 15. Like, he had it on speaker, and I'm like, didn't like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just quiet because I just don't like the whole situation, and I'm not going to be a dick to the tow truck driver. But I'm like, all right, like, this is the wrong battle to fucking battle right now. It's like, it's not this guy's fault. Okay. So now I have to pay $15 per mile. And I was already gearing up for 10. And it's not that much money, but at the same time, you're just like, I'm already getting fucked in the ass.
Sting.
Yeah. This is the guy. Whoever stole my truck is fucking me in the ass, and then this is him just spitting on my back. Like, it's the last little bit. You're just like, was that necessary, dude? Was that absolutely necessary for you to do that? Okay. They take forever to load up my truck because you can't drive it. Luckily, you can still get it into neutral.
Yeah.
But there's a car parked right in front of it. And it's like 11 o'clock at night, so we're not going to, like, who the fuck's his car? So the dude has to do this shit where he has to, like, shimmy it out and pull it sideways. It takes, like, 45 minutes minimum just to load up my truck. And I have to go to work and wake up at 4:30 a.m. the next day, too.
Ugh.
So it's like 11 at least by the time, probably 11:30 by the time he gets it loaded. And then he gets it loaded, and I tell the guy, I go, okay, if anybody that knows my apartment complex, it's one skinny little driveway. And this guy has this big-ass dually flatbed truck to carry my big-ass F-250. And I'm like, you're going to have to back up all the way down the driveway, and then I'm the last garage all the way in. And it's midnight when he shows up, right? So I'm walking him back, and it's a diesel truck, and it's got the super loud backup beepers. So I'm waking up every single person on both sides because there's like 2 rows of houses on each side of this like long, skinny apartment complex. Everybody's awake. So I'm that guy that's like, I'm going to back up the loudest fucking truck at midnight. So everybody's awake. Nobody came out, which is surprising to me. Like, how are you not going to come out? I guarantee people were looking through the windows, but nobody came out. And so I'm just waking. It's like in my worst moment, I'm getting the biggest spotlight on me. You know what I mean? Like that's the feeling. So it takes forever for the guy to back up, and it takes us forever to get this thing to like, he has to like offload it crooked, and then we have to like literally lift up 2 wheels with these dollies, and then like let it roll down the hill, like the front and then the back, to try to get it closer to the garage. So it's taking forever to offload it, and the whole time the guy's just letting his truck idle. He doesn't like turn off. He's just idling. So we were probably back there for at least 45 minutes, just idling and backing up, and it's just like, dude, it's so fucked up. But what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can do. And if somebody would have came out and got in my face, it would have been ugly, because it would just been like, I'm already at my.
I'm ready to snap.
And I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, I have to wake up for work in like 4 hours. You know what I mean? Okay, so that happens, and still, that was like a little over a week ago. I still haven't like touched it. I'm just like, because I know I got to go through it, and I got to just like make a list and fucking start fixing shit. But I've been so busy with podcast, it's just like it's just sat there. I haven't even. Like all the trash and everything that's just like been torn up in the like I haven't even cleaned it out. Like it's just been sitting there.
So you are gonna fix it up?
I am, because it's gonna be cheaper than buying another truck. Because I don't really need a truck right now. It's just to go dirt bike riding and have shit. And then once I buy a house, it'll just be that. It'll be the truck that's on the side of the driveway. So when I need a truck, I have a truck. Because I don't want to spend $40,000 on a used newer truck. You know what I mean? Just to,
I mean, $40,000 is.
Dude, trucks are expensive. Because that's the thing.
If you went and bought the exact same truck, but in good shape, what would it run?
See, that's the problem. An old truck like that, I won't buy a diesel like that, because if it has low mileage, it's going to be impossible to find. The guy's going to want at least $30,000. And if it's the V10 like mine, they're either going to be all worn out, and I'm not going to have trust in it. I'm in that weird zone where it's like I have an old truck, doesn't have a ton of miles on it, has like 140, but I have trust in it. So to get an old car that you have a lot of trust in, it's like that's very difficult to do. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to buy the newer one. It doesn't have to be brand new. We have to buy a newer one, and trucks are super expensive. At least $25,000 minimum. And I'm a cash is king guy, and I'm trying to buy a house next year, so I don't want to just like lose $25,000 of that down payment. You know what I mean? So okay. The first morning I go to work, and I just tell the few guys that I'm working with, it's a really kind of slow paced job that I'm on right now, because it's almost done, just like punch list items. I tell them, I'm like, I'm going to be a bit of a zombie today, because I got like 2 hours of sleep, and I just had to deal with a bunch of stuff yesterday. And I tell them the whole story, and they're like, yeah, dude, no big deal. And then at like 10 a.m., I get a text from the manager of this stupid bitch that runs our apartment complex that doesn't know what the hell she's doing. And if she listens and wants to come at me, fucking come at me, because she's such a stupid bitch, and she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. She sends me a picture of my truck and texts me, and her boss says, you need to be parking closer to the garage. Okay. Do you want to talk about being a clueless bitch? And I sent her this whole thing about my truck was stolen and vandalized. It's non-operational. That's the closest that we can get it. It's within inches of still being able to open up the garage, because it swings out. It's not the sequenced one or the segmented one. And I need to get into the garage to be able to fix up the truck and be able to make it optional. Obviously, I sent it in better wording, but that's paraphrasing it. And then I said something basically like, I appreciate your concern and warm-hearted operations. Something like that. And I'm not kidding. I literally sent something like that, basically telling her to fuck off. And I checked my little camera that I bought that overlooks the garage, because we've been having all kinds of theft problems. And I saw her in her borrowed truck in a Toyota Tundra struggling to turn around because she doesn't know how to drive a truck. So when you get to see somebody like that, that person doesn't drive a truck, because they just like don't know how to park and shit. And I saw her doing that, and she tried like twice, and she got out as a woman does and all pissed and like took a picture of my truck. So I'm like, okay, so you don't know how to fucking drive a truck, and now you're gonna like bitch at me for parking, even though like who's the real victim here? Like my shit was, and how did you not know this? Because I was making all the noise last night with the fucking tow truck.
Oh,
like
she lives here.
Oh, she lives here. Yeah.
Oh,
she's not like the landlord. She's just the chick that lives here and is like our little.
She's boots on the ground.
Yes, but she doesn't know how to fucking do anything. So, anyways, but for her to text me the first morning that it's there, hey, you need to be parking closer to your garage, and when it's like, all right, technically, if it was within the lines, I need to be 2 feet over, but then I can't open up the garage, and this was like the closest we can get it. So fuck her, and I was just so like, I don't know. And I still have to deal with it. And I went to my insurance and confirmed. I'm like, hey, I know you couldn't cover me for the whole truck, but we found the truck. You can't cover for any fixes, right? And they're like, nope, you only had a liability. I'm like, that's fucking cool, dude. That's tight. I just wanted to confirm that. So now I have full coverage on it again and blah, blah, blah. But it's just like.
You should report it stolen again.
I could. Well, I can't right now because it's not operable. And to be honest with you, the driver's door doesn't lock. So if you want, you can just get into my truck right now. But you can't start it because there's no battery and there's not all the other shit.
We'll just put the starter back together, put a battery in it, and then
I don't know. If you put
have someone steal it.
There's no cats either, so it'd be loud as fuck when you start it. It's a V10, 6.8 liter. So if you start it, it's going to be super loud.
I'm sure your neighbors are used to it.
I'm going to wait till the manager comes home. I'm going to text everybody and say, hey, I will pay for everybody to go to a hotel this night. I just want to wake up one person tonight when I start my truck to move it, and that's going to be the manager because fuck her. It's gotten to that point. I'm not that kind of guy that plays those games, but it's gotten to that point.
I can tell.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, dude. I feel like this is me just complaining about life.
Some people hire therapists. Some people just start podcasts.
Dude, I am glad that this shit is coming out on a show, but I also am not stoked on the tone that I'm bringing to like, this guy just whined for 45 minutes about stuff, but here we are. Let me make fun of myself now for making fun of the world. Okay. So, have you ever done something where you just lose any and all confidence in how to operate in day-to-day activities that you should just not even think, like walking or chewing, like you're like, I don't even have to think about walking. And then you just fuck up so royally, you're like, should I not be confident in how I was eating chicken, just chicken breast, because I'm in this weight loss bet and time's ticking down. It's less than a month now, right? Okay.
What are you at?
I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
It's not good. I'm going to be like anorexic for 3 weeks to be able to beat this guy, but it's going to suck. But I got to get the $500 because I need to fix my truck and a bunch of other shit that's happening.
You got to pay off your street sweeping tickets.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. But so I'm eating chicken breast by myself and watching Seinfeld as white people do. And I'm doing the thing where I don't have a plate. It's like I had a Tupperware because I did the meal prep.
Oh.
So it's just a big chicken breast like on a fork. Like, you stab it in the middle and you just like eat
around it.
Yeah. Like I'm so white trash, dude. It's so bad. So I'm eating around it and I'm getting close to the end. And you don't realize how hard you bite until you bite something on accident. And I bit the very tip of the fork. Okay.
That is the worst experience of your life.
Dude.
But
it's so...
I hate that.
And it sounds like a glacier cracking, like in my mouth, like because it's attached to my skull. So I bite and you're like, oh, like it wasn't like when you bite your cheek and it's painful. It was painful, but the sound.
It's a shock.
Like you could... It sounded like my tooth split in half. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm just like... I stand up and I could feel the weight of the shame immediately. Like I just bit a fork. Like I don't know how to eat food.
You were alone?
Alone in the living room in the next room
over. And you got up because you were so embarrassed.
I got up because I was like, for sure my tooth is gone. Like that's how bad it was. And so I go to the restroom to look in the mirror. And sure enough, the corner of that front tooth right there, you see it?
Uh-huh.
That chipped off, and there's a crack in my front tooth.
No.
Like, I just bit into a fucking piece of metal and cracked my tooth.
It was the first thing I noticed when I walked in.
Yeah, for sure. It's not that bad. But
I'm kidding.
I can feel it.
I can't tell.
So, see right there? The corner?
This is a visual.
Yeah.
You have visual podcast now, so you have to...
This tooth. See the corner?
Uh-huh.
How it's, like, squared off?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so
I can see it.
Okay.
I don't think the camera can pick that up.
No, but you can pick up how embarrassed I am. So now I literally, like I said, I'm by myself. So it wasn't like, hey, party's over, like everybody leave. I was just like, what do? You just go sit back down. And I didn't finish the chicken. Like all of a sudden I was super unhungry because and so now it comes to this point of like, well, that's my front tooth. Like I got to get it fixed. And this is super embarrassing, but I haven't been to the dentist in a very long time because I don't have any pain. And I kind of look at my teeth and I'm like, it doesn't look like anything really is gnarly happening. And I just procrastinate a lot.
I think that's most adults.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I need to go. And then you just never make the appointment because nothing's bad. Nothing was like, okay, now I really need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, and with COVID too, I was like,
COVID, yeah. Well,
I want to just sit there with my mouth wide open.
what's a long time for you to not go to the dentist?
2 years.
Okay, this one's gonna hurt, dude. This one's gonna hurt me.
No, let me rephrase that.
Dude,
when I missed my 6-month appointment, 6 months and 1 day.
Are you saying that just because now it's public?
Yes.
Okay, so 2 years for you. 2 years
No,
for you is
6 months and 1 day.
Okay, fuck you. Okay, it's already gonna hurt a lot for me because it's super embarrassing. All right, so I've been in the union for 7.5 years now. And it was like a year or two before I got in the union. It's the last time I went to the dentist. So I'm coming up on like 9 to 10 years.
So like high school graduation?
Basically like since I've been an adult. Because I've never made an appointment as an adult. Let me put it that way. Last time I went was like when I went with my mom. Okay.
Wow.
And I'm 28. Okay. So I'm embarrassed to say that, but I've never really, I don't know. I haven't really come into things where it's been a problem.
Any girl you're going to date, you really got to hope she does not listen to this episode.
That's why I waited till like it's going to be in the middle. Like she's not going to be able to get to the end and she's going to have to listen to the whole fucking show. And it's super embarrassing. But like I said, so I went in there, and I was like, nobody's either perfect, but I was like, I don't see any huge.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, okay. But I don't see any huge, I'm sure there is. Okay, and now I'm going to shit on the dentist industry. So I figure out how, my insurance works. And I go and make this appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it's 2 weeks out. So now I got to have this chipped tooth for 2 weeks. And it's La Mirada Family Dentistry. Okay. So
sponsored by La Mirada Family Dentistry.
100%. Well, they're going to hate me for this, but okay. So I go there, or 2 weeks goes by. I have to the only time I can get, I have to leave work at lunch, take off a couple hours early.
Mm-hmm.
Appointment's at 3:00. Get there 20 minutes early. They're pouring concrete out front, so I got to walk around. Where you get out of your car, then you have to get back in, and then drive around and park, and then go in there.
Yes.
And like I said, it's the first time I've used this insurance. I'm like, hey, I believe this is how this works, and they're like, all right, fill this out, and fill out all this paperwork. And they're like, we don't see you here. I'm like, this is La Mirada Family Dentistry, right? So they call my insurance to figure it out. And they're like, oh, you're looking for La Mirada Family Dentistry. I'm like, that's what it says out front. They're like, we're La Mirada Family Dentist. Okay. I'm so pissed, dude. I'm like, are you fucking serious? They're like, yeah, they're right down the road. You're looking for La Mirada Family Dentistry. Because I just Googled La Mirada Family Dentist, and it's that's where it is.
Right.
It's right down the street. Okay. And then this is 2 days after I found my truck, by the way. This is life is just, and this is 2 weeks after the wedding. This, dude, I'm just getting shit on.
So you've been roasted by a chick. You found your truck
with $1,000 in street sweeping tickets attached to it. Chipped my tooth on a fork. Not I got in a fight or I was riding dirt bikes. It was I was sitting on a couch and just bit into a fork. Okay, it's the most. You just feel the weight. It's when somebody puts an adult-sized jacket on a kid and they can barely hold themselves up. That's the weight of the shame of not. When I was biting into things for 2 days straight,
mm-hmm.
I was so nervous about biting the wrong thing. Okay. So anyways, now I'm all right. She's like, yeah, it's right down the street next to the Home Depot. It's 5 minutes away. So I got 10 minutes away. So I got to bust ass. Now I'm late. I'm 15 minutes late. And I'm going to be so pissed if they don't allow me to come in or something because I just left work early. So it's you already lost money by leaving work and now because there's a family dentist 2 minutes down the road from a family dentistry. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. So I go in there and I can tell the way this woman told me oh, you're at the wrong place, that it's happened before. She's
mm-hmm.
You're looking for this. It's right down here. I go into this place, the second place. And I'm I'm super sorry. Can you believe it? I actually went to La Mirada Family Dentist, and I didn't realize that's why I'm late. I apologize. And they're looking at me like I'm a crazy person. They've never heard that in the first place. So I'm okay.
Oh, that's great.
I just don't know how to handle myself as an adult, dude. And so, yada, yada, yada. Fill out all the paperwork. They take you back. They do x-rays, and then they start looking at stuff and figuring out what they're going to charge you and what work you need. And the person that they're all cool and they're doing the x-rays And again, I'm aware that I haven't been for a long time. So I'm like, I don't know. I went in there with 3 things. I said, obviously I need a deep cleaning because I haven't been in forever. I didn't tell him how long it's been. I just said, it's been a minute.
been a minute.
I didn't want to tell him like, hey, I'm still a child and I haven't been in forever. You know what I mean?
A minute as in 10 years.
Yeah, which is, I get that. That's super embarrassing, and I'm not going to let that happen again. So, okay. I go in there. I'm like thinking it's going to be for sure 3 things. I need the front tooth that I chipped fixed, a deep cleaning, and then there's one other spot. There's like a molar thing that I got like as a kid that like a little piece chipped off, and this was like a couple years ago.
Did you bite a spoon then or what?
No, it was like toffee peanuts, and I remember.
Really?
And I was sitting on the same couch when I broke it, dude. That couch is not good for me. But okay. So I'm like, all right, they might find another thing or two. Because like I said, I look at my teeth and I'm like, it's not like, wow, that's a brown tooth, and wow, that's fucked up, and wow, it's like, I don't have any pain. So I'm like, all right, maybe they find something else. And being a union electrician, our insurance is really pretty good. Like, it's rare that I ever get a big bill. You know what I mean? Like, through this whole accident, so far I've paid nothing but like $5 or $10 copays, you know? So she's like, they take all this stuff, and then the actual dentist comes in, and he's there for like 3 minutes. Like, all right. And there's a person on the side, and he's just calling out things that I need, and she's just writing the stuff down. Okay.
It's
and
like,
the dude,
Doc, I'm going to have to go get another piece of paper.
The dude is literally like this, that. Dude, the list. So then the manager, she's like, the manager will come back, and we'll figure out what it's going to cost you. Because I'm like, how much is this all going to cost? And, of course, they're like, we recommend, this,
right,
which is like the most expensive way to do it, which, you get. So I don't know. I was maybe $500 I was going to have to spend. I don't know. I haven't been to the dentist. Okay. I don't really know how this goes. But like I said, I have really good insurance. I haven't used the dentistry one yet for my union, but all my other experiences, it's been really well. They come back. Okay. And she goes, all right, cool. So it's like 20 things, which although they itemize it, so it's not like 20 operations that need to be done, but it's like, like 20 costs, I would say, is like, because it's like everything has a code. So it's like 20 things. I don't want to make it sound like every single one of my teeth has to be replaced. That's not the situation at all. But, like for one cap, it would be like 7 items on the list. You know what I mean? Because it's like medicine distributed, this, that.
Yeah.
So there's like a huge list of stuff, but everything has a cost. And she goes, great news. Your insurance covered a lot. It'll be just over $3,000. And I was like,
wow.
I was not expecting that for one. And I'm like, okay. And here's the thing, though. I've heard so many guys, coworkers, they go, yeah, I went in there and I just paid it. And it turns out that they overcharge you on purpose because nobody really knows like what your insurance covers.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, $3,000. And on one hand, I go, all right, I've been to the dentist in forever, so maybe. But on the other hand, I go, I don't have any pain, and like none of my teeth are falling out, and like none of my teeth are just brown to the core. So I'm like, where the fuck is it? She goes, yeah, it was actually $12,000. Your insurance paid for this, so it's actually $3,000. It was like $3,010. And I'm like, I go, you know what? And I said it super nice, and I was like, I'm super uneducated about the actual insurance and what it covers. I'd like to do my own homework if that's okay. If I can keep this printout of the costs with the codes attached to it and what you're charging me for per code. And I just want to do my own homework before I go ahead and pull the trigger on this cost. And then I said, also for the 3 things that I know for sure that need to get fixed, or the 2 things and then the deep clean, I was like, how much is that? She's like, that's $1,500. And so I told her, I was like, you know what, never mind. And she's like, oh, you don't want any work done today? And I was like, no, let me just do my own homework and then we'll call you back. Yeah. And she's like, she was acting real suspicious. Like, oh, okay. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I've heard horror stories about coworkers that just get super overcharged and like, cause they don't know what their coverage actually does.
I thought the insurance though, it's like don't you hit a deductible limit or?
Yeah, it covers hang on. So I'm getting there.
Okay.
So that was like Friday.
Or did you only do like the same amount of insurance as your truck?
No, the insurance is like what I get through my union. Like I didn't pick the cheap option. It's really good insurance. But okay. So I go home like that weekend. I'm looking into it. I try calling to confirm stuff. Of course, my union insurance isn't open. The call center isn't open on the weekend. But the machine says like, because you have to enter in like your member ID and blah, blah, blah. And it says like you have CA 10A or whatever the code is like for my plan. Mm-hmm. So I Google that, and I Google like coverage, and there's just like 10-page list of every single dental code and like what medicine and what operation, and then what my cost is. So I'm like, motherfucker, and I was super excited because I bought a printer this year. I'm like, I'm printing every single one of these sheets out. Like, use the ink. I was so excited. I felt like such a grown-up. And, dude, so I print every page out, and I literally just go through with a highlighter and go one by one down our list, and like every item was way overcharged. Okay. And so now I'm like, I cannot wait.
Wait, so, okay, hold on. Because I'm confused, so maybe your listeners will be confused. So what you printed out was what they cover for each of those types of items, or what the insurance expects, like, the going rate to be?
What my coverage is. Like, what I would pay. So, like, it would be like, item 2943, and it would come over, and it would be $75. So, like, that's my payment. That's my copay for that item, or whatever it would be.
Right, but are they overcharging you, or are they just charging what they want?
It would be no, they were overcharging me, because originally the list of the chick that she was like, full price for everything would have been like $12,000 something, but after your insurance it's $3,010. And she gave me a list of all those codes, and it says like a description of what it is, and then what my cost would be, and it added up to like a little over $3,000. So then I went through on my insurance website, and I even called on Monday afterwards to confirm, like, that's the plan I'm on, right? Okay, and all your info on your website of, like, the breakdown of costs, like, and copays, that's accurate and up to date, right? She's like, yep. So it would be, like, the same code as on the printout that the dentist gave me. Let's say it was, like, $260 is what my after insurance cost would be. And I had to go find it, and I'm like, oh, it's only supposed to be $50. Or sometimes no cost, and she was charging me, like, $100 for it. Like, even just the deep clean, she's like, well, we charge per quadrant, and your insurance covers this, so it's $50 per quadrant, so it's $200. And I look at mine, and mine's 4 quadrants per year, or 12-month period, whatever it said, is no cost. So I'm like, there's $200 right there that they were going to charge me.
Right, but what I'm saying is it the insurance will cover up to a certain dollar amount, and then you cover everything after, and then at that point it's just negotiable?
No. So what I found online is what my copay is, meaning unless, like I said, the deep cleaning, it's 4 quadrants per year or whatever, but most of them was just like, you're going to get this done, this is what you pay. And it did not match up.
The dentist has no discretion on that.
The dentist...
Well, except in this situation when they're trying to overcharge.
Well, the dentist can charge whatever they want, but because they're approved through my insurance, but I'm only going to pay what my copay is. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go to the doctor's office and my copay is $5,
they're overcharging you on the copays, essentially.
Yes. So my copays are
like,
let's say on my insurance website it says your copay is $50 for this item, and they were like, oh, you got to pay $260. That's your copay. So they were.
Oh, I thought okay.
So they were way overcharging me.
Got it.
And I was like, I can't wait till Monday.
I thought you were saying your insurance would only cover up to a dollar amount, and then
no.
okay.
So yeah, it was. They were saying that my copays were way more. But they were basically like, your insurance, after your insurance coverage is $3,000. But then I looked at all my shit and it was way less. There was like 6 different items that weren't even on like my huge 10-page list of codes. And it was like miscellaneous medicine and stuff like that. But it would be like $350. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, you're just adding, like, you could just add that to anybody's bill. And so with those like 6 different items that were just kind of random stuff, I deducted that and it was like $600. After the copays. And then even with that stuff, so I was like, all right, even if I added everything, it was like $1,900. So I go, minimum, you overcharged me like $1,100. And I was just like, okay. This is me coming off of being shit on at a wedding. This is me coming off of being shit on by the law and watching it. You know what I mean? I'm just so excited to call them back and just be like, yeah, I actually added everything up. And because I've heard so many horror stories, this bitch did it on purpose. She was acting super suspicious after I was like, no, I'm not going to get any work done. I'm going to follow up. She knew exactly what the fuck she was doing.
She knew she was going to get caught.
Yes. Instead of just being like, all right, if that's what it costs. Be like, and then the one guy that's like, all right, well, I'll wait on getting work done. I actually want to see what my coverage actually is. And they're like, oh, fuck. And I go on Yelp, and there's like 6 reviews, and there's like half of them are people that are like 1 star. They're like, I got a second opinion. I didn't need half the work that this person did. And they wanted to charge me all this. So I'm like, okay. Okay, let's.
Did you Yelp them?
I did not Yelp them, but I called her back.
But you just drug them through the mud on your podcast.
Well, I haven't gotten a second opinion yet. I got it booked, but it takes a couple weeks. So, but I'm so excited if I get a second opinion in 2 weeks, and they're like, yeah, And you can be damn sure I'm taking that whole packet. And they're like, this is what's going to cost. I'm like, well, let's go through the fucking list then, shall we? Because when I called the chick back, I was like kind in the verbiage. I wasn't like, hey, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like I didn't just call her and put her on blast. But it's one of the, like, when you can feel people squirm if you use the right verbiage? Like you're not being mean, but you're just telling you how it is.
You're playing.
It's like a fuck you email. You know what I mean?
What is it? Word jujitsu or?
Kind of, yeah. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
There's a term for it.
Wordsmith? Yeah.
No.
Well, okay. So I'm telling her this, and I was like, hey, I just want to call and confirm that there's been some kind of miscommunication about my, I'm totally just totally being a dick in a nice way. Like, I think there's some kind of miscommunication about the covers that I actually have. I've called and confirmed and called again on Monday and actually spoke with a person that I do have CA 10 and whatever the hell the plan is. I've gone on their website and printed out all of their co-payments, and I've gone through with a fine comb of the list that you gave me here, and there seems to be mad discrepancies. I didn't say mad, but I said there seems to be quite a few discrepancies, and it seems like it's not a few, it's every single item on your list. So I just want to call and confirm where was the miscommunication at. And you could feel her like squirm, like, oh, well, let me look into that. I don't know why that could have happened. And she's like, oh, we thought you were on this plan. Okay.
Oh.
I'm like, oh.
Sure
you were. Yeah. Sure you were. And I'm not going back to them, obviously, but
But
I'm
now,
so glad
justice.
Yeah. I walked in there uneducated. I'm so glad I didn't just pull the trigger. Because it would have been very easy to be like, you know what? I haven't been to the dentist for 10 years. This is the price I pay.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive. But that bitch, dude.
You showed them. Now you got to pay off your tickets.
I can't wait. Yeah. You know what? Life is really good. I need to tell a fun story. Let's see here. A fun story. Okay. Let's talk about vaccines. This is not a fun story. I just want to hear your take because right now I've had COVID, and I know what your take is on vaccines. But
Hashtag survivor.
Yeah. Oh, have you had COVID? I forget.
I haven't. Which,
Okay.
if anyone on Earth, if anyone that knows me, I should have been patient zero. Like if anyone deserves to have COVID, it's me.
So
somehow I have not.
Right. I had COVID. It's been about a year. So the antibodies might be there. They might not be there.
How much are the tests? The antibody tests? I have no idea.
I have no idea either. But
if they're cheap, that'd be interesting though, just to take a look.
I would be interested in getting that done. But I have so much shit on my plate with fixing my truck and fucking Dennis over and fucking doing podcasts and shit. I just don't have the time. But okay. Union electrician, right? I do kind of more commercial work, which means schools and hospitals and stuff like that, which means most of that shit is federal jobs or city jobs, which means a lot of the stuff coming down or already there is vaccine mandate, and I'm not vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get vaccinated, that's fine. I'm not because I feel like I don't really need it. And so now, after coming back from an accident, which is still not over, and I'm kind of getting fucked by both because my body's never going to be the same and I still have bad knees and a bad wrist, but also just financially. But so coming back from that and then finally going back to work, and then now it's like I might not have a job because I won't get a vaccine that I don't need.
Oh.
Because it's kind of like, hey, all the jobs we're getting are all vaccine mandate. We don't know if we're going to have a spot for you. So I don't know yet. But
do you know anyone else on your crew that's not?
So, there's a few people, but it's.
Have you talked to them about it?
I'll be honest with you. It sucks that this is so political, but most people that work union are very liberal. I mean, most people in California, right? In LA. But yeah, most people.
Well, I also feel like outside of California, unions are getting a lot more either centrist or even right-leaning at this point.
For sure.
Pipe fitters for,
There's definitely some right-wing guys in my union too, but it's kind of the silent majority because our leaders in the union are like, vote this way, vote this, and it's like always pretty much the exact opposite of which way I want to vote.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just sucks that I might not have a job. And the argument that I keep hearing from my coworkers are like, well, you have a choice. I'm like, I don't though. Like, you can move and you can do this and move and do that. I'm like, what kind of fucking choice is that?
Yeah.
Like, basically, you don't have a choice. You're going to lose your job if you don't want to get vaccinated.
Yeah. I know a few people like that in your same position.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I had a buddy that had gotten COVID twice because he's a cop in a jail. And so he got COVID twice and was fine. I mean, he got a little sick, but he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was going to lose his job if he didn't get the vaccine like a month or two ago. And so he got the vaccine even though he didn't really want to. And he got way more sick from the vaccine. He wasn't hospitalized, but he was out for a little bit than he did with COVID twice. And I mean, and now he's okay, but what the fuck was the point of getting the vaccine?
Yeah.
And he was going to get fired.
Especially with natural immunity.
Right. So that's where I'm at. So now I might lose my job. The podcast is just killing it, though. There's so many views on YouTube. Please, somebody go subscribe for me. If you're listening to this, just as long as one person subscribes, dude. Put some wind in my sails.
I'll subscribe. I'll be that
you.
guy for you.
Thank you. But yeah, man, I've got a few more things. We're at an hour and 6.
Wow.
Do you want to keep going?
All night.
Okay. Let me see here. What else I got? I got chip in my tooth. That's already done. Where can I find my truck stealing with an accident? I guess I don't want to. Oh, sorry. What's up?
No, go ahead.
I don't want to get into too many details about the financials from this motorcycle accident that I got into. All I'm going to say.
Is it enough to pay off your tickets?
It should. Well, maybe not. Actually, I might have to.
Oh.
I might have to pay, which is retarded.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer. You almost die, and now you have to pay.
Pretty much. Oh, dude, I'm getting. Ultimately, my message with this is that the middle class gets screwed over in this country.
Amen.
Because like I said, I don't want to go into too many details. I'm not going to say numbers, but ultimately, the person that pulled in front of me, and it's already been talked about, it's her fault, blah blah blah. You know, not only obviously, in my opinion, but like on the police report, it's obvious. I got hit by, the person that pulled in front of me is this older woman in her 60s from Compton. So back again to fucking shitty people in Compton, who doesn't have any doesn't have anything to her name. So you can't get anything out of her.
Mm-hmm.
And she had the bare minimum of insurance. And so it's not like I'm getting a huge payout from her insurance. And then my insurance is now like, well, we had to pay all this money for the medical bills. We want to get paid back. And it's like,
it's not my problem.
Pretty much. That's the whole point of insurance is that you pay that shit and I don't.
Right.
But that's what's coming down. And it's just retarded.
Mm.
So anyways.
That's a bummer.
Life is rad though, dude. It's
life is rad.
Life is so rad.
Despite everything in your life going bad, life is rad.
Let's talk about that. And this is not on my list, but I do want to talk about it because it's weird. When I wrote all this stuff down, the tone of the show is not coming out how I expected it to come out. Like all these stories are there, and I'm talking about the stories that I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
But as I keep talking, I realize it just sounds like me complaining. And, like I have a few more items on here, right, that are negative things that I've realized. And yet I'm not bummed out. So it's super. Where was I about to go to this? It's like okay. So my life right now, if you were to sum it up, like if this was a chapter in my book, it's just that I have so much shit on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I'm at obviously just I can find the humor in these, but it sucks. All these items that are going on, like they suck. I'm not like, oh, these are so funny. Like I get to talk about it on my show. It's like it fucking sucks that my truck's fucked up. Now I got to pay more money and get it fixed and blah blah blah, and a bunch of other things. But
mm-hmm.
it's interesting to me that I have all of this crap on my plate, and yet I'm still so excited to like take it on. I mean, I'm worn out, dude. Like I'm super worn out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it I think is from starting to do the video process, which I've talked a lot about. It went from like an hour and a half of just doing the audio as far as post show like editing
mm-hmm.
to like between 12 to 15 hours of work every week.
Wow.
Right. Okay. And that's just to get to the next week. It's not like, oh cool, I'm getting ahead. It's like
mm-hmm.
every week it's like I get it done on Sunday and I'm like, okay, cool. And then Monday comes around, I'm like, gotta start for next week's shit. You know what I mean? Because it's like an hour or a couple hours at a time after work, and it's at the point where I'm just starting that. So it's all the work that it takes with like the bare minimum it's ever going to be return wise because the YouTube hasn't taken off yet, So
it'll get better.
I know it will, and this is what you have to do, and you have to be consistent.
Yeah, the consistency.
But that ratio is just at the shittiest point right now, and I have to.
Well, you can't get any lower. Gotta look at it
That's
like
what
that
I'm
way.
saying. I have, yeah, you're right. Like I have purposely and successfully been able to stop myself from going any lower right now.
That's a great way to look at it.
I mean, think about that, dude. That's super cool. But yeah, man, craziness. Right now my big thing is what to do for a living. That's the hard part.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know, dude. It's super hard.
I know someone that's going through that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I'll be hanging out with guys at work and they're like, man, okay. Let me tell you this little story. I'm dating this girl right now, and I remembered one time that she really liked those pink, purple, and white carnival cookies. The little animals with like the white, it's like the mother's carnival cookies.
Yeah, yeah.
She was like, I love those for dessert. So I just like remembered those small details. And I bought those, like I made her dinner one night and she came over and I had the carnival cookies for dessert. Okay.
Look at you.
And so
thoughtful.
I know. I kept making the joke at work. I was like, dude, all you got to do is buy girls carnival cookies. And they just, like that was the joke, obviously. And so for a few days, everything was like, how are we going to get this done? The super wants this. And I'm like, you just hear me like 20 feet away in like a totally different room. Like, would you think about buying carnival cookies? Or like, like that was the joke for like 2 days. Okay. So ultimately it got to the point where these two guys that I really look up to, super smart guys, don't agree at all on the vaccine, which frustrates me, but we're super smart guys.
Like at work?
Yeah. Coworkers. And they were like, yeah, one guy was like, because of the cookie thing, he was like, I started working at this, or he's like, I did some work at a cookie factory back before I joined the union. I was doing like automated shit. And he's like, you just see this machine would like flip the cracker over and like blah, blah. They're just like, you could tell they're just like getting wetter and wetter about like the machines that built these cookies and then the people would pack, and they're just like, it was so cool. And I'm just standing there like, I couldn't give a fuck at all. Like I just could not care. And so I'm at this point in my career as an electrician of like, I can get by and I work hard and I make good money. Right. But I've been higher than I am, and I have no desire to be there again or to pursue past that.
Really?
And it's just, you know what I mean? I'm like in this void. And I was talking about it last night with this carnival cookie girl. This is how I describe her to everybody that I work with. But that I'm such a space case. Not just like I go to one side of my kitchen to the other, and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like I'm all over the place in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But yet when I do these shows, I'm like running a million different things, but I'm really focused. And it's kind of weird how that works, right? Like I enjoy this.
What's those Adderall you popped before the show?
100%. That's exactly what it was. But no, I don't know. That's the big question of my life. Among all the other stuff that I have on my plate, right? Like my truck and dentist and blah, 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 which everybody has shit on their plate. I'm not oblivious to that. But it's just finding another form of income that's not the same way I got into this form of income where it's like, that'll make me money. It's not just trying to find something that's like, all right, are you going to want to do that and still make money at that? That's what I don't know. Because I've thought about, like, if I move to Montana, there's like state jobs available, and I'm not going to be making the same money, obviously, because it's Montana, but I'll be able to buy a house. Lower cost of living, yeah. Lower cost of living, and I have a huge down payment that I've been able to save up here.
Yeah.
So I just kickstart my life there, and I just have a state job, But I'm like, I don't really care about working for the state. It's like, it would be the same thing over again. You're just like, I don't really care about that job. It would just be a way to make money. And I already did that once, and I hate it. You know what I mean? So it's really, dude, it's very interesting.
Yeah, but you don't get, is there a balance between you're doing this as a passion project because you enjoy it, and it offsets the lack of interest in your W-2?
It does, for sure. This definitely helps, right? Like this outlet, I mean, just talking about this shit, because this stuff will stew in you, and I'm glad that I talked about it, because I'm like, all right, no more complaining. Like, this is just, it's off me now. So I won't talk, you know what I mean? Like, I won't complain about anything on this list again. Mm-hmm. It's like once you say it out loud, you realize you're like, yeah, just move past it. Mm-hmm. But if you just hold it in, you can just feel that weight of like, oh my gosh, like I haven't even touched my truck. It's been sitting there for, you can just hold that shit in, and it just overwhelms you and breaks you down. And so this as an outlet, it's like, all right, cool. I'm decompressed. I got it off my, which it's not, this show isn't just a listen to me complain to get it off my shoulders. This specific episode sounds like it is, but for me on a selfish level, it's definitely working. But to answer your question fully, as far as, this is an outlet to kind of offset working, it's less of a ratio. It's a worse ratio now doing video because it's that much greater of a workload.
Oh.
I don't have a passion to edit video, especially for editing like a podcast video, which is the most boring thing to edit ever. It's not like you're making some cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just flipping back and forth between two people staring at each other. You know what I mean? And talking. So
I'll stare at the camera.
Yeah, one thing, it's just like this is what I like doing, right? But to do this, the actual guests and talking.
Yeah, but if it grew, you could get to the point where you could afford to hire a
that's the investment
freelancer to
right.
Yeah,
it's crazy because you think of total time, right? So what's 7 days times 24? What is that? Or 7 times? I get about 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night.
Really?
Yeah.
I would die.
Oh,
I need at least 7.5.
Have you not been listening this whole night? I am dying, dude.
I'm tired too.
No.
I woke up at 4:29 this morning.
Yeah. Okay. All right, dude. All right. I'll buy you a bag of carnival cookies when we're done. But that heals all things. No, but like usually I go to bed at like 10:30, and I have to wake up at 4:30. But
wow, that's brutal. I could not do that.
All right. Well, I'm not going to complain further. I've complained enough about my shitty sleep schedule on this show. But like, so you figure 7 days a week, I'm working a minimum of 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there's 6 times 7 because you're sleeping. So that's roughly a third of the week. And then there's commuting because I work all over LA. So there's commuting. And then there's this, which now another 12 to 13 hours is just editing.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
And then there's if I want to hang out with anybody and or just eat and bite into forks and shit and fuck up my dentist story. It's just this moment, like I want to expand this into more of my life. And like the investment of trying to expand this is actually shrinking it. That's the idea that's messing with me right now. I understand it's necessary to make this aspect, this actual interview and have this fun, to make that more of my life. I have to actually make it less of my life right now. I have to go to the other job to make money, and then with the video and everything I can afford, so I have to do all that shit myself. It's interesting. Like this is like
it really takes that long to just back and forth between us talking?
Okay, well, so it's to give you a little bit of behind the scenes. So there's 3 camera angles, right? So you can, the way it works with Final Cut Pro, you basically can press, 1, 2, 3, and it snaps to each camera angle. So let's say this is an hour and a half interview or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be minimum. It's going to be an hour and a half to just do the cut, to just add the cuts.
Just purely, yeah.
Add the cuts, but it's not going to be an hour and a half because you can be like, oh, I'm going to push it back there. You could do it in real time and never hit pause, but you're never perfect. You're always going to be right behind the perfect time to cut. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. You need a Jamie.
I do. So
doesn't Jamie do it live?
Yeah, which is why it's actually not that great if you watch it and look at it. Like he's always behind it.
But you don't watch it for the cinematography.
Right. No, I know, but it's just me. That's just, I don't know. If you're going to do it, it's like might as well do it right type of thing. True. So that is that. But that's just adding the cuts. And then you have to do the, shoot, like I'll have to shoot another video that's just me talking about the intro for the full episode. And then I got to figure out how to cut it up to make like 10 different clips of the one episode. And then I got to add all the stuff like the beginning and the intro and blah, blah, blah in the background. And then I got to make, if that's 10 clips and then plus a full episode plus the audio, that's like 12 thumbnails I got to make, and they all have to be different from each other so that it doesn't look like the same video. It's a lot of shit. It's like comes up to like 13-ish hours,
Wow.
So it's just, I don't know. It's crazy, huh? That is, I understand it's necessary, which is why I keep going. But it's a frustrating investment.
I bet.
You know what I mean? I mean, you're in a similar, I won't get into the details of, exactly what you're doing, but you're starting kind of what you're doing after school and everything like that. And so there's a lot of investment work.
Yeah.
I
love where I work.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Dude.
Actually, I do love where I work.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what I do literally is not like, I don't hate it, but yeah, it's not the passion side of my future.
Right. It's interesting because there's different sides of it, right? I'm sure, well, I don't know. You have a pretty great job and you have a great future and you're kicking ass. So I don't feel like you have a lot of people telling you to stop doing what you're doing. Right?
No.
Yeah. That's cool. That'd be tight.
Do people tell you to stop
All the time.
this?
Yeah. All the time.
Really?
I have people, it's feast or famine. I have people, even if they don't say it, you can kind of see it.
Like, just
Well, so
friends?
people either go, hey, no, not friends, because they're my friends. But like, people either, I hope not. My friends are like, dude, what the fuck are you doing with your, this is stupid. Like I hope
on the show.
Yeah, it's like an intervention that I hosted. No, but there's, I get people that are like, dude, you can clearly see that you like it, and I think you're really good at it. Like, you just need to keep going, and it's consistency and everything, which I've heard that a lot, which is correct about the consistency part. But there's for sure people that are like, dude, you have a great career. Like, what are you doing? This, like, you're holding yourself back, or like, that's great as a hobby, but it's never going to be, you know what I mean? I've met guys on day one of meeting them, especially in the, like, coworkers, and they're like, no, that's just a silly pipe dream. You're just a kid dreaming. So it's, on good days, you're like, fuck that guy. But if you have bad days, you're like, and it's not like I'm making money, and you're like, well, fuck that guy, I'm making money. So it's like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just in that bad cloud of like I said, the initial investment of doing video again, which I knew it was coming, but now I'm in the thick of it. In order to do an hour a week of what I really like, I got to put in 100 hours of shit I don't want to do. That's where I'm at.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. But life is so rad, dude. This was such a negative episode.
It was.
I feel so, God, man. Should we put this out, dude? It's so negative.
Could be the lost episode.
Could be. I don't know. I was really...
You could just skip over this episode number.
I mean, when we were sitting down, there's been a few shows here and there that I haven't put out.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And there's been times where it's not even, I could feel it, it's me. It's like, I'm just not in a mood to do a show. And I had a piece of that today. I was excited to do it, and I knew that...
I can take a hint.
No, it wasn't you. It was totally me just being exhausted, to be honest with you. I was like, I could feel it. I'm just like, I was listening to all kinds of like Motley Crue and shit before you came over. I was like trying to like get more energy. I'm just tired. Yeah, man.
You've had a long week.
I have. But anyways. All right, dude, we're at an hour and 23 of me complaining about life.
What's your longest episode?
At the beginning, I was trying to do like 2 hours and shit. I think I've done like 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Not that it was the best episode. There's a lot of, I don't know. I haven't looked back at those like very first ones. But yeah, I've done long episodes. Yeah. Hour and 23. Yeah, dude. Tomorrow's Friday.
It is. Tomorrow's Friday.
You excited about it?
Friday.
Yeah. No. Tomorrow's Friday. I got to do a bunch of editing on the podcast to get it done by Monday. And then I'm doing I'm doing a potluck. Take some mac and cheese home because I
will gladly take some mac and cheese
Do you
home.
want some?
My stomach is rumbling right now.
Really?
Yeah.
No, for real. Like, so I'm making this mac and cheese, and I got the recipe from my mom, and the recipe's for like a 9x13 whole big ass tray, and I wanted to cook one before I made it for the first time to bring to like this Friendsgiving thing this Saturday. Mm-hmm. So I made this huge fucking tray of mac and cheese that I had to like finish and then make a whole nother one in like 2 days to be like, hey, I've never had this. Hopefully it's good. But it's really good. You want some? It's like the breadcrumbs on top, and I put bacon bits in it.
Speaking of potlucks, so I did a smoked turkey.
Really?
Wow. I don't really toot my own horn a lot, but it was maybe the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. It was so good.
You smoked it, really? How long did you smoke it for?
So, okay, we're gonna go real deep into the weeds on smokers really quick. So you have like actual like those big barbecue restaurant ones where they're like big old tanks and they have an actual fire. Mm-hmm. You have the little pellets that you put into the hopper, and it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's fire, but it's just kind of smoldering, really. Mm-hmm. And then you could have charcoal. So I have charcoal. Charcoal runs hot. So I have something called a pit barrel cooker. Mm-hmm. It's essentially like an oil drum, and it has the charcoal on the bottom. So technically, it's not a true smoker. It's not wood, but so it's a little hotter than a normal smoker.
Okay.
But I use flavored charcoal, and then you can throw wood chunks on top of it to burn with it.
Okay.
So it was fast. It was a 16-pound turkey.
Okay.
And it took me just under 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah, but man, it was delicious. And it's so juicy.
Really? All right. I can't wait to buy a house, dude. I'm going to be smoking meat all the fucking time. Anyways, player. All right, man. You ready to wrap this thing?
I am.
All right, dude. Hour and 26. We did it.
You're welcome.
That's the most I've ever complained. Like, straight through.
I just have that effect on people, I think.
Dude, you're a great listener. We'll see dude.
I pride myself on listening.
I know.
I hope Giovanna realizes that.
Yeah, she does.
I remember in high school, I was listening to a speaker, and they were I don't know what the actual topic was about, but they were talking about listening. And she said the best, like something like one of those like inspirational quotes, blah, 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 but it actually stuck with me, and it was like, just shut up and listen. I was like, oh. And it stuck with me all this time.
One of the best statements you can make is by not saying anything and just listening very well. You know what I mean? And you made a great statement here tonight, young Steven. You really did. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. And,
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. When we get you back on.
These are always enjoyable.
Yeah.
Highlight of my week.
All right, player. Thank you for everybody for watching on YouTube and listening wherever you like to listen. And we are out. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to check out the Standing Still podcast, both here on YouTube and wherever else you listen to podcasts.